everybody, and welcome back to the Creativity Broadcast. I'm your host, Laura Westman, here to wish you a very happy new year and to do what I think is a really important video at the start of the year as everybody is starting to think about who they're going to become this year, what they're going to be up to. And I also wanted to take a moment to pause any very frenetic January goal setting that might be going on so that we can slow down and spend a little bit of time actually crafting some goals for your creativity that will really happen. All right, so first of all, I'm going to share in this video, number one, where we get stuck when we're setting creative goals. Number two, my number one tip for actually creating goals that stick. And number three, some resources on the other end. So let's get to it. Anytime that we're starting to think about setting creative goals, I think a lot of us get really tangled in a couple of areas that can kind of get us murky or even stopped before we begin. One of them, when it comes to creative projects, can be getting stopped in some mindset stuff like deservingness. You know, when I think about some of the big, like, kind of intimidatingly feeling stuff that I want to be doing creatively, a lot of where I go first is deservingness of like, am I actually worthy of doing this, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes we also get stopped in a lot of like the when and the how to make it happen. You know, we're thinking about like, oh gosh, I want this to be the year that I actually do it. I write my book, I create my album, or maybe you have a goal that is even less of a large project to like get back into a creative practice. Sometimes where we get stuck is that kind of self-defeating thinking of like, well, I haven't been able to do it yet, so who am I to say I can do it differently or something? And then this other thing about like that kind of underlying fear that we won't, so what's the point? And also looking backwards to try to predict the future. So relating to ourselves as like a past version of us who couldn't do it or couldn't prioritize it or something. And I don't want to breeze past this too quickly because these are important parts of us that need to be considered and that need a little bit of time at the table before they can stand down and actually let us go live our best creative life. Some of you might be listening to this and thinking like, oh my gosh, that's totally me here and here and here and here. And some of you might be listening to this and thinking like, Laura, why are you bringing me down? I'm so excited. So any of it is fine. I'm saying it to normalize, especially because what I want out of this channel and for everything that I'm making for creative people to be a source of loving encouragement to actually help you empower yourself and create more. Because I think that we're all innately super duper creative. I don't think we need someone to tell us how to do it. I think we need someone to remind us that we can. When it comes to setting goals, here is the number one thing that I think is most important. And this is for me, both as a creative person and also as a coach helping people with their creativity. And I've been coaching for, at the time of recording this, 12.5 years. So take that as you will. So I think that while it is really important to be able to nail down what the goal is and create a SMART goal and all of that good stuff, which is super important. In fact, research shows that if you write your goal down, you are 45% more likely to achieve it. 45%. And that's just from writing it down, not even creating a plan or having lots of resources or being super consistent. Like that is wild and amazing. The thing that I think is actually most important is before you start creating any kind of project plan or a calendar or here's how I'm going to overhaul my whole life to make my creative goals happen. The number one thing that I think makes the biggest difference when it comes to setting a creative goal is getting really super clear and honest about what the goal is for you. And this is not your normal run-of-the-mill, your why, okay? A why is cool and a why is powerful and a why is important. And I think that's definitely an important thing to look at. You know, for example, when it comes to my music, one of my whys is like, that's my childhood dream. Like that's 12-year-old me being fulfilled and happy and like shining with reckless abandon, you know? So like a why is really, really important. And sometimes even just inquiring about our why is going to crack ourselves open and actually make our goals bigger and deeper and more meaningful. But what I really am talking about is the second piece here of getting really honest with ourselves about what we actually want and need from the process of getting to this particular outcome. There are going to be some times in your creative life where the biggest breakthrough area is going to be in prioritizing it enough to actually make something. So it's totally legit if your intention for having a creative project this year is to show yourself that you can and will make it a priority. So you can hear that if that is actually part of how you're thinking about setting your goal, you might not be like, okay, this is the year for me to try to get on Broadway. I know it's kind of a ridiculous example, but it might actually be more like, oh, if my intention for myself is that I actually practice making it a priority and show myself that I can, what are some of the goals that might be indicative of that, that might call me forward into that? On a different note, maybe you've been doing that and the breakthrough area is actually more in the realm of owning your talent and being more visible in your community. And if that's your intention, maybe your goal this year should actually be something a little bit more public that has you out of your comfort zone and getting people around you interested and involved and just letting yourself be more seen. So you can see how getting clear about this, it not only can change and kind of hone what the goal is going to be in the first place, but it's also going to help you get what you really want out of it because you've taken the time to really look. So some of you are going to be listening to this and you're going to go off and get your journal and you're going to be like, what's my intention for myself? And some of you are going to think about this for a couple of minutes while you're watching this video, and then it's going to fly out of your brain through no fault of your own. I went ahead and made you something. This is a creative goal setting workbook that you can download for free. I have a link below. This is a really beautiful, I think, 7-page workbook to help you kind of go from doodling out all of your ideas and your wishes to actually creating, hey, this is my intention. This is why it's important for me to do it now. Why is it important for my community and for the world that I do this now? And a couple of other prompts around strengths when it comes to reaching goals and challenges, looking at who your great helpers are for your goal, and also honing it in on some tangible outcomes and some support with creating a SMART goal. There is also at the end, my clients sometimes hear me talk about bubble wrapping yourself when it comes to goal achievement. So I do have a bubble wrapping checklist. And what I mean by bubble wrapping is not relating to yourself as breakable and fragile, but more like becoming so insulated that you're surrounded by your goal and it's just impossible to not achieve it. I guess I think that's what I mean. And so the bubble wrapping is about really creating your world and your environment and the people that you interact with as supports for where you're going next. So if this sounds like it would be nice for you to have, it's free. Go ahead and download it and print it out and use it and have a wonderful time. So that being said, I would be a terrible coach if I did not also talk a little bit about the how and some of the mindset stuff, but also the practical tips in order to move your creative goals forward. So I could talk about this for 8 million hours, hence this entire YouTube channel. But the thing that I want to share with all of you today is that I think when it comes to our creative goals and our dreams and the things that are most important to us in this life, especially as adults, especially in this particular era that we find ourselves in, I think that our creative joy and the things that make us so happy and feel alive and powerful are super duper important. And I also think that the world around us conditions us to believe otherwise. And so I say this, number one, to normalize if you feel intimidated by working on your goal. And number two, to let you know that I actually wrote a self-help book about it to help you create a real plan. My book, this is my proof copy of it. How to be creative in the age of digital noise. I wrote this 2 years ago now. Isn't it so pretty? This is a really short read. It's not even 70 pages long, and every chapter has a particular framework around how to think about different parts of your life to support your creativity and really get back to enjoying it and having it be free flowing and full of you, you know? The reason that it's called How to Be Creative in the Age of Digital Noise is because we're just surrounded by it and we internalize all kinds of stuff from the digital world that is not helpful to us actually living our best creative lives and bringing our dreams to life and being healthy people. And anyway, that's kind of a longer conversation, but the book is there. It's linked below if you'd like to grab a copy. Every chapter has personal stories from me, very specific examples of what you can do and actions to take, and also a lot of journal prompts for self-reflection so that you can actually really get moving very quickly. When I wrote this book, I felt a little bit like a rebel because I thought it was supposed to like take a long time. I don't know. It was really cool to be like, I'm having a similar conversation with a lot of people right now. I'm just going to write everything I think about getting back to your creativity in this day and age into a book and put it together. And that's what this is. So you can get your very own copy. And I hope you love it. One other thing I want to say about the how or any kind of action plan or milestones, the free workbook that I created for you also has some space to look at what are some of the milestones, what kind of timeline are we looking at. And it also references something called a SMART goal, which is kind of like the cornerstone of a lot of coaching and personal development work, because when it comes to creating a goal, sometimes we can be like pretty vague about what it is for a lot of different reasons. You know, sometimes we're just nervous about owning what we want. Sometimes we're just scared it won't work out. And the way that that shows up is being really vague and non-specific. But ultimately, a SMART goal is a really cool way to both define what it is that you're working on so that you're very clear on it. And secondly, actually create a by when so that you have something to work towards. So there are some times when I think that having a specific outcome and a by when are a hindrance, especially with creative work, because sometimes we actually need to be in more open exploration. But I think for sake of practice, it's actually great. There's a saying about how creativity actually needs a container, like it needs something to exist inside of. And so creating a SMART goal is a really great way to kind of give it a space to exist inside of and give yourself a vacuum to really make something happen. All right, everybody, happy goal setting. I hope that this video was really useful. I hope you enjoy the workbook. And if you grab the book, you're going to have to let me know. Oh, also, I meant to tell you, my course, Creative Clear Out, is also available. And Creative Clear Out is like, I joke that it's like the colonic for your creativity, but like kind of is. So it's about like really clearing out physical clutter, emotional clutter, mental clutter, spiritual clutter when it comes to your creative self, and actually getting back into a sense of flow and sustainability and kind of just getting realigned, you know, like clearing out all the gunk that's in the way of actually having a lot of really healthy creative flow. I personally think it's a work of genius and it has rave reviews. I'll link to it below if you'd like to check it out. And with that, I leave this to you. Please let me know in the comments what was useful. What are you going to go and do? Thanks, and I'll see you later. Oh, also one more thing. Aren't these cool? These tiger earrings?